Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be giving my match predictions for week 23 Premier League fixtures. And if we have anything of the results we just had in week 22, we are in for a treat. We saw some amazing games at Man City solidified their holding the title this season, beating the European champions 1-0 at their home. We saw Aston Villa, Steven Gerrard come back from a 2-0 deficit with their key signing Philippe Coutinho able to score in the dying embers to secure a draw. And we even saw some amazing other fixtures like Brighton and Crystal Palace go head to head, toe to toe, where Brighton were able to score that last minute equaliser to get the draw. So if we're blessed in any sort of way to get these sort of fixtures in these week 23 fixtures, we are in for a treat, like I said. And we got some amazing games coming up. We got the London derby between Chelsea and Spurs, and it feels like we've seen this game on repeat in the last 2-3 weeks or so. We got Manchester United versus West Ham as well at Old Trafford, both teams vying for the top 4 places this season. But before going this video, you know I'm going to say, make sure you guys like, comment and hit that big subscribe button right there. And make sure you guys in the comment section give me your own predictions who's going to win in week 23 Premier League fixtures. So the first game I'm going to be predicting is Chelsea versus Spurs, and what a game. Another London derby we're going to see between these two sides who have been facing each other literally every single day, it feels like, because they've been facing each other in the Carabao Cup. Not only this is the London derby, but both teams are vying for the top 4 places this season, especially since Chelsea suffered that massive defeat against Manchester City, knocking them out of pretty much the title race this year. We got Antonio Conte as well, with his men not losing the game so far in the Premier League under him as the manager, seeing if they can continue their momentum from the Christmas period to see if they can pick up points, especially against one of their arch nemesis rivals in the Premier League. So let's see what both managers do to tinker with their formation to see if they can get joy in this game and potentially get the win. But in the last 2 or 3 games or so, it has to be said, psychologically, Chelsea owns Spurs. We've seen it every single time they match up. Spurs look like the boys and Chelsea look like the men. Every single time the midfield battle, Chelsea much more physically imposing. They're stronger. They have the legs on them to literally outmaneuver Spurs, who no matter who they play, whether it's Højbjerg and Skip or Winks like we saw in the second leg in the Carabao Cup, they just cannot compete with the Chelsea midfield. I don't know what the problem is. I just feel like psychologically, like I said, they've been owned. And going into this game, Tottenham don't really have that much confidence because they've played Chelsea 3 times this season and not only lost one, not only lost twice, they've lost all 3 games. Antonio Conte isn't filling his players with much more confidence anyway. He's going to the press looking so abysmal, looking like he's not in a good mood at all, because he wants players entering Tottenham obviously in this January transfer window. He isn't his vibrant, charismatic self on the touchline as we've been seeing in the past as a Chelsea manager. It looks like he's demotivated, he's demoralized, he doesn't have the tools to make the machine Spurs working. Like I said in my recent video, I know both teams favour a 3-4-3 formation. Obviously Tuchel likes to play more on the front foot and press on the front lines, and Conte is more conservative. He likes to defend as a team, as a low block, to make sure his team's hard to beat and attack teams on the counter attack. But we know Heung-min Son's not going to be playing. That sucker punch that Spurs will have up their sleeve is going to be missing, so Kane's going to have more of the reliability when it comes to scoring goals or creating chances. And we also know that Spurs playing out from the back, which Conte has been trying to implement or even try play around the back, has been absolutely abysmal, has been absolutely pathetic. They cannot string a few passes together, and we've seen Chelsea take advantage of this season in the last 3 or 4 games or so, because every time they've scored a goal, it just feels like it's come from a Spurs mistake, whether it's Tanganga, whether it's Sanchez or whoever it is at the back. So going into this game, I'm going to be predicting a straightforward Chelsea win at Stamford Bridge. So the next game I'm going to be predicting is Manchester United versus West Ham. Both teams still competing for the top 4 places this season. And although both teams who are not going to be happy with their recent results, obviously Manchester United drawing to Aston Villa away from home, and then West Ham losing surprisingly at home to Leeds 2-3 when they just beat them in the FA Cup, they're going to be looking at this fixture to see if they can bounce back into the form to make sure they can keep the pressure on Tottenham and Arsenal in the top 4 race. However, before going to this game, I want to talk about Manchester United and their dire performance against Aston Villa. And honestly, I know it's been 6 or 7 games or so, but I honestly believe so far the football Manchester United have been playing this season under Ralf Rangnick is worse than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It just feels like it's reminiscent of what he was implementing. It just feels like the game against Aston Villa, they just gave the ball to Bruno Fernandes and just hoped he'd create something out of magic, out of thin air to create the chances for the forward players. Apart from that, It didn't look like they had any sort of game plan. And the thing is, we've seen Ralph Rangnick talk about so much this season the word control. But in terms of the way Manchester United have been playing so far under him, they have lacked control, they have lacked assertiveness, and they have lacked dominance when it comes to the midfield battle. Whether it's Fred and McTominay, whether it's McTominay and Matic, whether it's Matic and Fred, it just feels like these midfielders aren't good enough in terms of the levels when it comes to Manchester United Football Club. Matic gets outrun, Fred always loses the ball, and players can easily blow past McTominay when it comes to him playing as a defensive pivot. So whoever's playing in that midfield just always gets dominated. And I know West Ham just lost their recent encounter against Leeds in their last game. We know West Ham's midfield has one of the best midfield pairing in the league in Souček and Rice, who have the ability to dominate games. Give me Rice and Souček over any midfield Manchester United have at their disposal. Like I was speaking earlier on, they have the ability to use their physicality, their dominance, the ability to drive with the ball, to get into dangerous areas, to hurt Manchester United. And we just saw Aston Villa get joy against them. We even saw Norwich get joy. We even saw Newcastle get joy in that midfield battle. So why should I give Manchester United any hope when they're versing an elite West Ham side with a lot of Manchester United players having problems and lacking confidence, like Rashford, Sancho, and then you also have players like Martial casting a black cloud over the club right now, whether he's going to stay or leave. Honestly, the mood and the atmosphere around Manchester United isn't ideal, and I just feel like it's going to affect their performance on the pitch, and I just don't think they're going to win. We know West Ham favour counter-attacking style football, and they have had so much joy this season against the top sides, beating pretty much all the top sides this year except for Arsenal. And we've already seen West Ham go away from home to Old Trafford this season and win in the Carabao Cup. So it really shouldn't be a surprise to us if West Ham can pull off this victory again to continue their hunt for the top 4 race this season. So going into this game, I still don't think West Ham will win, but I don't think Manchester United will win either. I'm going to be sitting on the fence, and I'm going to be predicting a 1-1 draw at Old Trafford between these two sides. So the next game I'm going to be predicting is Arsenal versus Burnley at the Emirates. And like I said earlier in this video, Arsenal still have a lot to play for when it comes to competing for the top 4 this season. But they shouldn't underestimate Burnley, because we know a dangerous team when we see one. A team not only clawing but scrapping for their lives in terms of Premier League survival this year. Burnley are literally fighting for their lives, and they're going to be dangerous, and they're going to throw caution to the wind to ensure that they can get the 3 points against Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium. They literally have 4 games in hand, and they need to start picking up points. Arsenal cannot take this game lightly, because I know Burnley are sitting near the bottom of the table, pretty much dead bottom because of having 4 games in hand in terms of the other teams. But we know Burnley can beat Arsenal, because we saw it last season at the Emirates, where they were able to win in a deserved victory 1-0 away from home. And even at home at the Turf Moor Stadium, they were able to pick a point up last season, getting 4 points out of 6 against an Arsenal side, which we don't know the last time we've seen this happen. I know Arsenal won earlier on in the season, ensured that they could roll up their sleeves and actually handle the physical battle against Burnley. But we know Burnley in the past have been notoriously famous to be able to manhandle Arsenal and ensure victory against them. Arsenal must step up the game to ensure that they cannot be complacent, otherwise it can get to an ugly game in a physical battle where it will suit Burnley to ensure that they can bully Arsenal. But going into this game, I think it's going to be an excellent test to see how far these Arsenal players have come, because we know players like Smith Rowe or Odegaard or Martinelli or Saka have so much joy, so much creativity when it comes to end-to-end football against teams like Leeds or Norwich, who leave gaping holes in behind. But we've seen times in this season them struggle against low block with teams in Newcastle, Watford, although winning, not creating enough chances for their forward players to ensure that they can get goals. So let's see if players like Smith Rowe and Odegaard on the half turn in tight, small pockets of space to see if they can still create chances for the likes of Lacazette or Martinelli if they start in a more advanced role to try and get the goals this game. Going into this game, I think players like Smith Rowe should start on the left hand side, maybe ahead of Martinelli. It might be a controversial decision because we know Martinelli has been in firing form in his last 6 or 7 games or so, but I feel like just having the reliance on Odegaard this game to be your only creative spark, because obviously players like Xhaka is going to be suspended and Partey is missing, so I feel like it's just too much of a burden to place on a young man's shoulders. So if you have Smith Rowe and Odegaard in the midfield and potentially keep Martinelli on the left hand side if you play a 4-3-3, Honestly, Arsenal should have enough creativity to break down this low block of Burnley. Obviously, players like Xhaka and Partey are going to be massive misses, although Xhaka famous for getting red cards and stuff. We know he's going to be able to survive a physical endurance battle against Burnley, who are able to literally just use their muscle and physicality to bully Arsenal. So players like Lokonga may have to start, and we know he's still young. He may not be able to be ready for this sort of test because he's not used to playing these sort of games. But overall, going into this game, I think I'm just going to give Arsenal the edge. I'm not saying they're going to be Manchester City or Liverpool with the amount of chances they're going to create, but I feel like if Arteta just makes sure his players are concentrated enough, make sure that there's enough creativity on the pitch by starting both Smith Rowe and Odegaard, they should surely break down the Burnley side, who are bottom of the table for a reason. So Arsenal should be winning this game. I'm going to be predicting a 2-0 victory for the home side at the Emirates Stadium. So the next game I'm going to be predicting is Southampton versus Manchester City, and what a roll the English champions have just been on. They've won like 11 or 12 games in a row, and it feels like they do this every single time they're literally pushing for the title, like they've been doing this season. They just literally outperformed the European champions in a must-win game if they really wanted to cement one hand on the Premier League this season. And they've been beating every side in the last 11-12 games, whether it's teams like Brentford 1-0 or thrashing teams like Leicester 6. Honestly, any team right now should be scared, should be frightened, should feel threatened that if they do face Manchester City, it's just going to end with a L. They just have the squad, they just have the quality, they just have the players, and we even saw their front three English players all play well against Chelsea. Foden, Grealish and Sterling having so much joy against the European champions. We saw Sterling have so much joy on the right hand side, taking Marco Alonso every single time he had the opportunity in one-on-one duels. So right now, all is looking great and rosy for Manchester City, and we know Pep Guardiola as a manager always looks to motivate, inspire his players to ensure that they do not get complacent. And what better reason is there to inspire his players since they just drew to Southampton early on in the season 0-0. In a game where you thought they would have won early on in the season, Pep Guardiola is going to use this as a tool to ensure that his players are focused on the task at hand to make sure they can extend their winning streak to 12 to 13 games. Although Southampton's form has been up and down this season, we know on the front foot in terms of pressing, they can have some sort of joy like they did against Tottenham, pinning them back in their own half. But at the end of the day, we know Manchester City are the best team in Europe when it comes to playing the ball out from the back. So if Southampton even dare to try this, Burnley are going to literally slice through Southampton like butter, and this game is going to end ugly if Manchester City always prevail from this sort of tactic. So going into this game, players like Diaz was resting as well against Chelsea. Imagine not even playing Diaz against the European champions and he's going to be back. And you have other players as well missing, like Jesus as well. So let's see how Manchester City are going to mix and match their world class or very, very good players and see how they're going to beat Southampton. But I just feel like Man City just have too much quality, too much class. And when they hit this stride in the season, like I say earlier on, like we saw at 18-19 in the end of the season, like we saw last year as well, where they literally took the title away from Manchester United in the mid-season mark of the year, we know Manchester City are just going to be hard to beat and they're just going to run away with the title. So I'm going to predict another win to extend their winning streak, and I'm going to go for a 4-1 victory for Manchester City. So the next game I'm going to be predicting is Crystal Palace versus Liverpool, and this is the last game I'm going to be predicting, and I think it's going to be an amazing game. We saw an amazing counter between these two sides earlier in the season where Liverpool were able to win at Anfield. It looks comfortable in terms of the score sheet, but I saw the game and I thought Crystal Palace really went toe-to-toe with Liverpool, and on another day they could have potentially snatched all 3 points with the way they were playing the style of football under Vieira. But let me just start with the away side Liverpool, going to Crystal Palace, Selhurst Park. And honestly, the game against Brentford gave me some hope, but obviously at the same time didn't fill me with that much hope. Honestly, we were creating so many chances, and I did predict and think that we're going to create enough chances against Brentford to make sure that we've got the goals, because our fullbacks are absolutely elite with the way they have been assisting our players. Robertson, a magnificent cross to Oxlade-Chamberlain, and you have Trent Alexander-Arnold reaching 10 assists already at the midway mark of the Premier League season. When you have these sort of players on the flanks, literally playing as wing backs, they're just going to create enough chances to ensure that your forwards score, even even if they're not Salah and Mane, and it's players like Minamino, Chamberlain, or even Jota and Firmino who aren't as clinical as them, it's going to be an overload and ensure that they're going to be able to create enough chances for you to tuck the goals away. But that's another problem. At the point, it was 1-0 in the 60th minute, and we did literally take the game away from Brentford. But any other day, it just felt like we would have ended 1-0, or potentially Brentford would have gotten a goal. It felt like the first time as a Liverpool fan for years that I just generally felt that we weren't going to score a goal, because we're so used to having players like Salah and Mane, and this game isn't going to be a walk in the park. Crystal Palace are home. They're going to make sure that the fans are into it, giving them that 12th man feeling, especially if they start the game strong. And Liverpool need to be aware of this. But I just hope we just keep the solid foundation at the back like we did against Brentford, and ensure we keep another clean sheet. Because if you keep clean sheets, you're not going to be over-reliant, expecting players like Chamberlain, Minamino, Firmino, Jota to get you goals when you know that they're not going to do that on a consistent basis compared to Mane and Salah. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory. And you know what? I'll take that, because we have a sliver of hope still being in the title race. And any victory right now will do, with a dominant Manchester City escaping the league with the Premier League trophy already.